Florida prosecutors just locked it in. Death penalty is now in play for the guys accused of murdering rapper Foolio. By the way, this courtroom feels they already know they're finished but instead of even pretending to feel scared or sorry, they sit there dead calm like none of this can touch them. One of them sent a message that showed just how heartless this hit really was. Well, fully, let's start from there. Didn't just throw shade at the dead, he did way more than that. Let's break down exactly how this unfolded and the twisted bragging that followed Foolio's murder. This was a cold-blooded hit and an even colder aftermath. Foolio's killers aren't just unremorseful, they're turning his death into their personal joke. Not long ago, one of them, Isaiah Chance, was caught on camera in court straight up nodding along to "Who I Smoke," that viral young genius that mocks Foolio and his whole crew. That moment alone made people's skin crawl. But what went down in court recently dragged this case into a far darker place. Before we unravel the sick display they pulled and the heartless message they just broadcasted, we need to rewind to the night that signed Foolio's death. Born June 3 RD 22, for Foolio should have been celebrating life. He planned to mark turning 26. Tampa, Florida, far from the bloodstained corners of Jacksonville that had swallowed up so many of his loved ones. Against all odds, he'd done what few boys from his block could even dream of. Hebrick threw in the rap game, racked up millions of streams, finally had money to live above the struggle. But no matter how high you climb, old grudge shave habit of crawling right up after you. The feud that fueled his lyrics was waiting to write its final verse. In the early hours of June 24th, everything changed. Foolio, real name Charles Jones, was busy posting birthday clips all night, showing fans exactly where Jeopardy was at. It felt harmless at that "I'm just a young star" flexing his moment, but that innocent overshare turned out to be the crack his enemies needed. Live map to hunt him down before sunrise. Jones was in town celebrating his birthday and posted on his social media his locations several times throughout that night. Surveillance was critical in this investigation as suspects were seen on video following Jones from location to location. These guys didn't roll up on Foolio by accident. They came loaded with a plan. When Thetist settled, 5 suspects were in handcuffs for his murder: Isaiah Chance, Elisa Drews, Sean Gay, Devin Murphy, and Richard Murphy. And this wasn't some heated fight gone wrong. Detectives would later uncover a level of planning so methodical it rattled even the most seasoned homicide teams. Turns out the set killers were organized in the creepiest way. They borrowed their mom's car, booked an Airbnb barely a mile from where Foolio'd take his last breath, and said here own phones like they'd never heard of, deleting a location history. All this evidence handed prosecutors what they call a layup, a case so stacked it's almost insultingly easy to argue in court. What's disturbing isn't just how well they planned, but how recklessly they were about covering it up. It's like they were so drunk on revenge or so sure they'd walk free, they didn't even care that breadcrumbs. They were very aware that night they stalked Foolio with a calm, deliberate patience. No chaos, no panic, just predators circling their prey. They shadowed him club to club, watched him post, checked his security deal, and waited for the perfect crack in his armor. That crack showed itself at 4:15 Theo left for a hotel on McKinley, probably thinking he'd finna legit to breathe. He never saw the trap tightening behind him. One of Thekler's cars tailed him just close enough to track, but instead of pulling into the lot, they drifted to a spot across street, positioning themselves like trained snipers, not reckless gangsters. And when they made their move, every second played out on crystal clear surveillance. Prosecutors didn't they to paint a gruesome picture for Thedgery. The cameras did that, them turning the courtroom into a grim documentary, replaying the last moments of the man who thought he'd outrun the ghosts of his past 3 shooters. Exit a vehicle and walked in the direction of the hotel. They murdered Jones with a handgun and 2 rifles. This barrage of gunfire also struck 3 additional victims who miraculously survived this incident. The footage is so incriminating that even hardened law enforcement officers scold mask their disgust when they had to show it to the press. Passenger in that vehicle, it's clear from that video what they were set out to do and what they had planned to do. The investigation would later reveal that the 3 armed shooters were Sean Gay, Richard Murphy, and Dave. But what makes this story crawl under your skin isn't just the merciless way Foolio is gunned down, it's the brazen celebration that kicked off before his body was even cold while Foolio lay bleeding out in a Tampa hotel parking lot. while his boys were scrambling to serve while. His mother's world was shattering, with one dreaded phone cologne of his killers was already bragging about the kill. A text that would become a cornerstone for prosecutors was fired off from Sean Gathride's phone. Thought they say Rashad Murphy one. The suspected shooters was behind it, sent just hours after they snuffed out Foolio's life. The message read, "I'm coming home, my thirst is quenched, pop a bottle of Don Julio today." Cole doesn't even begin to describe it. That line, "my thirst is quenched." Prosecutors say it's beer code for revenge mission accomplished, and the Don Julio shout out a cruel pun on Fio's rap name, twisting his legacy into a punchline over drinks as the investigation dug deeper. Detectives peeled back layers of conspiracy, and in politics they said ATK and the 12,200 clicks work together to take Foolio out. Not just some medical beef-hopping cities, but an organized hit fueled by an old-school Jacksonville rivalry, spilling blood far from home. All 5 suspects now wear some label first-degree murder. The state wants the death penalty for the 4 men involved. Elisa Drews, who was pregnant when they locked her up, a fact she confirmed in court back in September 2024, won't face execution, but she's shortly walking free. This wasn't a random brawl gone lethal. The state's push forth ultimate punishment shows exactly how cold-blooded, how deliberate this killing was, and how stupid these killers were to think they could outsmart modern tech despite pulling off a near flawless ambush. They botched everything else, leaving fingerprints and text messages, sloppy surveillance footage, phone pings, license plate reader hits, enough digital breadcrumbs for cops to wrap the case like a gift box. In interviews, Andrew Street to distance herself, telling detectives she had no clue a hit was going down, swearing she just lent out her phone. But come on, tailing someone all over a city you barely know, timming it down to the minute, then claiming you were clueless, not even a rookie. Detectives buying that Foolio's death didn't just break hearts in Jacksonville's rap scene, it sent a message loud enough to echo through every gang clique still thinking of boot pulling the same stunt. Law enforcement asterisk paraded this bust as proof you might plan a perfect murder, but the moment to brag about it, your days are numbered. Ready. Want to send a clear message to anyone at the city of Tampa. It is not where you want to come to settle a dispute. You will be charged, you will be arrested, and you will be prosecuted. The theftless extent pause, but this wasn't just some random burst of street violence. It was another brutal page in a story that's been rotting beneath Jacksonville's earth for years. The streets have a long memory, and real beef never just fades away. Foolio wasn't just a rapper spitting hard bars for clout, he was deep in it, tied tight to the 6-block gang, locked in a blood feud with ATKAC's Toffeters and the 1200 crew. These weren't kids play acting gangster life for TikTok, these sets were living dying bistry code, staking turf, taking revenge, burying rivals, all for respect and second of family honor. You don't get to abandon once you sign up. This whole nightmare goes back to May 2017. That's when the fuse really got lit. Filioskausen Zion Brown, just 19 years old, got caught slipping and never made it homeward on the block as his killing was a direct hit tied to the brewing war between ATK as people and KT Foolio side. When you lose blood to the street, it carves out a whole nothing. For accept payback, everyone around knew Thatian's death wasn't just a funeral, it was a promise that the city was about Todrone in bullets and retaliation, and ins that cycle starts rolling. It's nearly impossible to stop. Like, I could have saved him, like, you know, I could have, like, cause I was like on the phone with him, like he called me, he was like, that's my cousin, you know what I'm saying, he like let me come to Dayton. The pain in Fio's voice whenever he spoke about losing his cousin made one thing clear: this wasn't some manufactured rap beef for views. This was raw grief spilling out of a young man who'd watched his blood spill on the pavement. The Hood family means everything to someone's kin, and the whispers turned to threats, and threats turned to funerals. In the streets, they always call it what's owed. The payback that came next turned the feud nuclear. Fast forward to June 2018, young Ace Real Namek Bullet got lit up at a birthday party. 8 bullets tore into him. He served a vet, 3 others didn't, including his own brother. That wasn't a drive-by, that was an execution that somehow missed its mind mark. Surviving 8 rounds, that's either a blessing or the devil sparing you from more hell. But the disrespect didn't stop there. Foolio didn't mourn insolence. He went online flaunting thoughts of deaths like trophies, taunting Ace's side with jokes, and even a t-shirt mocking dead, printing a T to clown your enemies. Corpses, that's a level off disrespect the streets etch into memory forever. and they never forgive that single move painted a bullseye on Foolio's back that no security team could ever erase. The blood feud turned into a carousal of funerals spinning on. PP February 2019, the cycle claimed another piece of Foolio's heart, a shooting at an apartment complex in dead life of BBY. Foolio's 16-year-old brother and a budding rapper in his own right. When they took BBY, they did it just snatch another life. It carved out the last fragile bit of innocence Foolio had left. From that moment on, there was no going back. Little bro was like, just like, that's my little twin. You know, I got him tatted on me face. That's my little bro. Okay, Oni J. I was at my godmama house and hood where we from on 40 band every day after school. This wasn't just about losing a friend from Denny Bourhood. This was blood. This was his baby brother, the kid who trailed him everywhere, watched him rap, copied his walk, his laugh, his grind. The streets didn't just steal a crew member, they ripped out Foolio's heart in broad daylight. Losing by changed him in ways could never put into words. He knew the block was boiling over, he knew enemies were creeping, and he still tried to shelter his little brother from Thesum storm that had already swallowed cousins, homies, and rivals. But the streets don't care how hard you love someone once. They mark you, they come for everything you hold dear, and the day they snatched BBY proved just how vicious this war had become. Foolio's life from that point on was never the same. Like, look bro, it's hot outside, like the police yout, no, I ain't even thinking about no, like underscore, like I ain't even talking, like bro, the police hot bro, like don't walk nowhere bro, sit here with me until it's time for you to go wherever you need to go. You know what I'm saying? Wait till the sun go down or something. But youngkings never think they're breakable until the streets prove them wrong. Just 25 minutes after walking away from his big brother's side, Ba was gunned down in Hilltop Village, the same neighborhood Foolio once called the worst hood in Jacksonville. The irony: brutal Thesum blocks that built him up stripped away everything he loved, and the disrespect didn't end at the crime scene. In March 2021, ATK member Suhaki Robinson was arrested for BBY's murder. Then, to pour salt in the wound, Sue dropped an album called BBY out with emphasis of KTAS dead homies on the cover, turning murder victims into cover art just to flex. That's beyond twisted. But beef didn't just stay on corners and parking lots, it went global. The pain, the betrayal, the murders, all it flipped into viral anthems streaming in living rooms across the world. March 2021, Youngin Ace dropped Who I Smoke with Spina's Wapa with D Choppa and Fast Money Goon. They flipped Vanessa Carlton's 8,000 Miles, the softest pop piano Lupinto A. His track celebrating Dead Revolt, it hit over 18 million views on YouTube alone, sampling a sweet pop song to mock the dead. That's creative evil. Aspers called out Foolio's fallen friends be named BBY Teddy dancing on their graves in high definition for the internet. Tweet up, imagine hearing your murdered baby brother's name being mocked in a song the whole world is singing along. It's a cut deeper than bullets. Foolio felt that pain in every nerve, but betrayal hurt him just as much. Dudes had thought your loyal switch sides when he turned up. That's how the streets test you. Everybody loves a winner, but only a few stick around when the block gets hot. Foolio couldn't let that slide. He fired back with When I See Your Mix, 6 million views, no subtlety. You rapped about a ceased triple shooting struded through a graveyard, waving printouts of the dead dancing on graves. That's not rap beef, that's psychological. He even cut in news clips of Buddha's murdered brother turning the pain off a mother burying her son into bars for clicks. That's ice cold. Even BizStreet standards. By then, rap beef had mutated into Bloodsport, monetized by YouTube ads and Spotify streams. The hood and the industry blurred into one, and a very bar. Every hook was a nail in somebody's coffin. Even when Foolio was working with legends like Zovan, racking up millions of views, building something bigger, the street life had a chokehold on him. Later that year, he got tangled up in other shootings. It was proof no matter how high you fly, the hood has a way of dragging you right back into the dirt, and that's the real heartbreak, because the fear where flashes tiny cracks of lightments when you could almost believe they might squash it, grow up and turn pain into purpose instead of funerals. But this world, pride and revenge run thicker than forgiveness. You show mercy, you get mocked. So the cycle spins on. Both Foolio and Ace had enough talent to flip this saga into hope for every kid coming up behind them. But when your past is stained with family blood, gunshot wounds, and caskets, turning the other cheek feels like a death sentence. Then came the courtroom showdown, the gears off justice ground slow. But Steady Felius murder didn't just launch a homicide case that peeled back layers of gang codes and brazen killers who didn't care a booth cameras rolling the state wasn't just after the shooters. They wanted the whole puzzle, every piece that made this execution possible. The first hearings were stiff technical, but the message was clear. Florida prosecutors were coming for life sentences, or the needle event. The ones who never squeezed the trigger face the same fate in Florida. Plan amateur, and you own every bullet that flies. Step by step, the prosecutors laid it out. 5 defendants tangled out of his digital footprints, dumb bravado on social media, and the sickening attitude in court smirks instead of remorse. This wasn't just about punishment, it was about tearing out the root of a conspiracy that turned Jacksonville's pain into a headline. The graveyard crimes like this don't just deserve a punishment, they scream for it, and the message at the heart of this case is so chilling that prosecutors say it alone proves these men deserve the death penalty. According to court records, this text, now infamous, was fired off from Shagathrite's phone, but pinned on Rashad Murphy, one of the shooters, just hours after snuffing out Foolio's life. They didn't hide, they didn't regret, they celebrated. The words, "I'm coming home," mythirst is quenched. Pop bottle of Don Julio today. One line enough to show the world exactly how cold their hearts were. One says DGTL blasted the Messagen line on August 7, 2020 for it blew up. 1.6 million views and counting. People couldn't believe the raw disrespect for human life. The outrage just fueled prosecutors even more. As the case crawled through the courts, the suspect's behavior turned the whole process into a dark circus. Rashad Murphy, who Nichols' ghost, didn't just sit quietly. Bend his lawyer on January 14, 2025, he wrote this tear-soaked letter to the judge. He painted himself as a devoted family man who'd loved his fiancée since the were 13, bragged about being a dato for kids, all in a desperate attempt to look human, to make the court forget about the dead son, brother, and Cousinwo's life he allegedly did. But Ghost wasn't done performing. 2 weeks later, January 29, he blindsided everyone. His lawyer demanded to speak for himself and asked for a speedy trial, a move so reckless it could put him before a jury in just 5 days. The judge practically begged him to think twice. Representing yourself in a death penalty case is like standing on a cliff blindfolded. But Ghost didn't flinch. A special hearing was set for February for 2025 to figure out if he was even mentally fit to pull off this stunt. The same recklessness that got Foolio killed was driving him straight into a lethal injection. Meanwhile, prosecutors kept stacking their mountain of evidence, but with 5 defendants and different degrees of guilt, each hearing felt like peeling an onion. More layers, more stinging eyes. Bond, forget it. All 5 were locked down tight, too dangerous to roam free. One hearing stood out: Devin Murphy's, another alleged shooter. On January 16, 2025, the state used his 5-hour bond hearing as a sneak peek of their trial plan. They laid out the gang beef, dissected rap lyrics drenched in threats, showed how deeply these killers planned Foolio's last moments. It wasn't just about bail, it was about convincing a future jury that this wasn't a random hit, it was revenge calculated. Step by step in court, they didn't just talk guns and bullets, they talked blood ties. They told the judge how Rashad Murphy's cousin, Joe Rod Adams, was shot dead at a Rains High School football game back on August 24, 2018. Foolio had up to booty. Murphy hated him for it, so when the chance came to erase him from the map, they jumped. This was never about street fame or fast money, it was personal, a chain reaction of losses and grudge, each death fueling the next until Foolio's murder came the crown jewel in a feud written in tombstones and Spotify streams. And now every text, every rap, every smirk in that courtroom is leading them right to a fate they thought they could outrun. The needle to them: Foolio's murder wasn't cold-blooded, it was payback, plain and simple. In their twisted logic, they saw it as street justice, not a lifestyle, and the rest of the crew faced the judge, to each with their own spin on survival. Shagathite, Isaiah Chance, and Elisa Idrus all stood before the court on August 28, 2020, for 3 of them did exactly what everyone expected: pleaded not guilty in Hillsborough County. That single plea put the burden squarely back on the state. Prove every chilling detail beyond a reasonable doubt will let these defendants fight Tooth and nail to dodge a needle or a lifetime behind concrete walls. Elisa Andrews' situation added a twist that prosecutors knew would complicate things. She was pregnant when they cuffed her, confirmed in court September 2020, so no death penalty for her. Same first-degree murder charge, Buddha guaranteed different ending than the men who allegedly pulled triggers and bragged in text. Prosecutors weren't shy about what this really was, not just another gang beef gone deadly. State Attorney Susie Lopez stood for reporters, cameras flashing, making it clear this trial wasn't just about Foolio. It was about showing the entire city that senseless blood feuds wouldn't be written off as just street life behind a very court date. Every motion, the human wreckage never faded. Mothers burying sons, friends haunted by what ifs. Prosecutors dug up detail after detail that painted the killers as reckless masterminds who planned a hit with all care of booking an Airbnb for a weekend party. A viral expose from August 7, 2020 broke it down. The US said here moms' car stayed a mile away from crime scene and tracked themselves in their own cell phones. It was so sloppy, so casual, that detectives called it a prosecutor's layup. It all spoke to a generation so numb to violence that planning a murder felt no different than planning a night out, and the state smelled blood. Their public statements, their bold push for multiple death sentences, it all screamed confidence. Whether they lock these suspects away for life or strap them to a gurney is up to the jury. But as of now, things don't look good for the crew that thought Foolio's death would bury their demons. And that's the story for now. If this should you hit those other videos on your screen and dive deeper. Thanks for rolling with us to the end. Until next time, stay safe and stay watching.